Rachel woke up to the sound of rain tapping on the rusted zinc roof of her family's one-room apartment in the heart of Lagos. The room was cramped, a single mattress on the floor, a small wooden table, and a kerosene stove in the corner. Her younger brother, Tund, was still asleep, curled up on a mat beside her. She carefully stepped over him, trying not to wake him, and reached for the plastic bucket by the door. It was her turn to fetch water from the communal tap down the street. The rain had turned the narrow alley outside into a muddy stream, but Rachel was used to it. She balanced the bucket on her head, her bare feet splashing through puddles as she made her way to the tap. The line was already long, filled with women and children, their voices rising above the sound of the rain. Rachel greeted her neighbors with a smile, though her mind was elsewhere. She waited for her turn, fetched the water, and headed back home. On her way back, she bumped into a young man who was jogging down the alley, unknowingly the water splashes on him. "Oh man, what is this?" he uttered in awe. "I am very sorry. It wasn't intentional. I almost fell because of the slippery ground," Rachel apologized. The young man stopped at some point and gazed at her in amazement. He recalled immediately where he had seen her. "The local Accra seller's daughter," he said. Rachel stood speechless and, without responding, hurried back home. She couldn't recognize him and yet continued to think about it. Some moments later, her mother came out when she was sweeping the compound, and Rachel immediately narrated the incident to her. Her mother also didn't understand and proclaimed to figure out who he was when she got to her stall. When Rachel's mother left for work, Rachel brought out her remaining undies she hadn't finished selling the previous day to sell that day. She had been helping her mother financially with the little she earned since her father refused to take responsibility for what he should. She had the desire to become a nurse, but her parents' struggles and the reality of life were making it unbearable for her. 2 days later, the same young man arrived at Rachel's home in a big white Highlander car, accompanied by her mother. Rachel was stunned, watching how happy her mother was until the guy drove away. "Mother, is that not the man I was telling you about?" Rachel asked. "Yes, my dear. I forgot to tell you about him yesterday. Come inside with me. I have good news for you," her mother replied. Rachel followed her mother into the house. While sitting on their single small bed, her mother, wrapped in her tied wrapper, beamed excitedly. "You are getting married soon, my dear daughter," her mother announced. "Getting married? To who? And why?" Rachel asked in shock. Rachel stood speechless in front of her mother, trying to understand her clearly. She was expecting her to say it was a joke, but her mother looked more serious than ever. Rachel was just 25 years old. She knew she was old enough to get married, but she hadn't fulfilled her goals and determination. She wanted to be more developed to a point where she could help her family out of their struggling life before marrying, not the way her parents were doing. "But why should his wealthy life attract you, mother? I don't even know this guy. You didn't even ask if I might love him or not. You didn't ask if I am ready to settle down maritally." Rachel protested. "Will you keep shut? Keep quiet there. Do you think you are still a kid? You think you're still like your younger brother? You are not even ashamed of yourself. You saw an opportunity, and instead of grabbing it, you're speaking gibberish. You think we are not tired of you being in this house? We are tired, my dear. We are tired, my dear daughter. Go and marry. At least God has provided one for you. And not just anyone, a very good-looking and handsome, moneyed young man," her mother retorted. The next day, as her mother had said, Rachel Maher sat outside their house with the young man, awaiting her return. When Rachel finally showed up, her mother braced up and told the young man to be calm, that her daughter was the sweetest girl ever. Rachel got to them, greeted her mother, and entered the house immediately. Her mother quickly followed her and, in annoyance, scolded Rachel for disrespecting the young man's presence. "I do not want him, mother. Tell him to go, please," Rachel pleaded. As she was talking, her mother slapped her face. "Keep quiet. How dare you disobey me? Do you think I will watch you turn down a great opportunity? Since you have been in this house, no suitor has been coming. I have even thought your case is spiritual. But mother, I am just 25 years old. My life hasn't balanced yet. I can't get married out of pressure. Please, mother, don't do this to me. I do not want this, please, she cried, but her mother ignored her. Get yourself outside now and greet the young man, Rachel's mother said firmly, going outside. Rachel had no choice and went out calmly. She stood by the entrance without saying a word. The young man smiled immediately when he saw her. Hi, beautiful. Do you remember me? He asked. I don't. Who are you? What brought you here? Rachel intentionally asked, frowning. Her mother faintly smiled and excused herself, leaving them together. The young man got up and walked over to Rachel. You shouldn't be frowning, it doesn't suit you. My name is John, and I am pleased to meet you, he said like a gentleman. What brought you to my parents? Is it because of our vulnerability or what? You shouldn't force yourself on someone because you are rich, Rachel said. Oh, come on. I didn't come for you because of all that. I came because I love you. Because I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Forget about your worries, I am here to ease them for you, John replied. Rachel watched him and thought. She had no choice but to get into what she didn't expect. Within a month, her wedding was done. There was no counseling for the couple, just an arranged wedding, and that was all. Rachel's parents were extremely happy because they believed they were entering into riches, neither knowing what awaited their daughter. Moving into a home with her husband was the hardest thing for Rachel. It took her time to start getting along with John. He cherished her and gave her the best attention he could during the first month of their living together. Every night, he always demanded intimacy, and when Rachel couldn't handle it anymore, she opened up to him. I am always at the edge of collapse when you finish, she said. This got John angry, and he frowned at her. Affecting you in what sense? Just tell me. Did I marry you to have my way with you once in a while? Did I get married to you just for fun? You have no right to deprive me of my rights. Your privacy is mine, and I can have access to it anyhow I like. Am I not the head of this house? John shouted. Rachel sat on the room's single chair, thinking and crying. She couldn't understand the kind of life she had begun to live. She was strictly ordered to stay indoors as a housewife, with the claim of not wanting her to stress herself. She felt trapped, but there was nothing she could do. The only time she got to go out was when there was no foodstuffs at home. One day, John returned from work very tired and asked her to wash his 2 cars. She was dumbfounded and asked him why. So you can't do what I ask you to do, or what are you trying to ask me? He questioned her, glaring at her frankly. How can you tell me to wash your cars for you? I have never done this before. Why should I start now? Rachel asked. Because you should have it at the back of your mind that it's your duty, John replied. What? She shouted in disbelief. You must be joking. I am your wife, for crying out loud. Is this how you said you love me? Yes, I do, but that has nothing to do with what I ask you to do. Love and house chores are 2 different things, John said coldly. Rachel stood in front of him sadly, tears filling her eyes as she stared at him. She went on her knees and begged him to forgive her if she had offended him. She asked why he refused to allow her to get a job or further her education, as he had promised. She asked why he decided to make her do things like a maid in their house. Instead of giving her an expected response, John cold-heartedly responded harshly, sending her off like a toddler. Life became unbearable for Rachel. Every day seemed like hell to her. She had no one to talk to. Her mother, who should have supported her, turned out to be her homebreaker. One day, her husband returned from an outing and banged into the house like a wolf. He saw her sleeping on the living room couch and dragged her up. Rachel's heart pounded in fear as she was woken up. What happened, honey?" she asked, almost falling off. "How dare you? How dare you report me to your mother?" John shouted. "I don't get you." "Reported you to my mother how?" she asked, knowing instantly what her mother had done. Instead of replying, he pounced on her like a tiger and started beating her. "Do you think telling your mother what I do to you in this house will stop me from doing what is in my mind? I haven't done anything at all. And it seems you want to make me start that thing you are pushing me to do. Nonsense." He got up from her and bashed into their master bedroom, closing the door loudly. Rachel sobbed intensively, struggling to get up from the floor. She couldn't believe her mother could betray her after telling her not to inform her husband of what she said. She expected her mother to talk to him nicely, advising him not to trigger his annoyance. She cried and cried before getting up. 3 years in her marriage was nothing to write home about. She was enduring every single day, keeping so many afflictions to herself. But one thing bothered her about her husband. Sometimes at night, he would behave strangely, as if having sexual intercourse in a dream. She would wake him and tell him about it, but instead of listening, he would beat her mercilessly. She believed it was not natural but spiritual. Rachel wanted to leave the house to meet a strong man of God, but her husband kept her under tight control. When she called her mother or father to report, they lashed her with words, telling her to stop letting out her marriage crisis to them and to settle it with her husband. The only thing they happily told her was how her husband had gotten them new cars and made life sweet for them. She would break down into tears after ending the call, not knowing whether to pray or curse them. "Our major thing now should be how to give birth and stop all these nonsense complaints," her parents would say during their conversations. John returned from work as usual, looking strange to Rachel. He smiled at her, bought her a nice jacket and shoes, and brought a big box of jewelry to her surprise. He gave her a peck and said he loved her. "You love me?" she asked speechlessly, not knowing what he was up to. "Why are you surprised? Don't I love you?" "Yes, you do," she answered softly. "We have a party to attend tonight. So get inside and dress gorgeously." "I mean, dress to kill, love," he said, smirking at her lovingly as she went to the master bedroom, thinking deeply. "I can't believe this. Is he under a spell or what? When he loves today, tomorrow he becomes a monster. Is he controlled by a spiritual wife who uses him to satisfy her sexual urges most nights? Is there something going on that I am not aware of? Are you done dressing?" John asked behind her, startling her. "Give me a minute, honey," she answered softly, looking for a dress to wear. Some minutes later, they set out and arrived at a big mansion where many people were present. Being there felt strange to Rachel as she looked around in astonishment. The place was filled with high-class guests. John introduced her to his colleagues, and they all praised him for taking care of her. "Your wife looks so beautiful. She hasn't changed since your wedding. Her beautiful face is still intact," one of his friends said. John laughed and thanked his friend. He took Rachel to a reserved seat and, amidst the music and chatter, whispered to her never to interact with any man. She nodded and sat like a gentle lady. Not long after, she saw a lady in an off-shoulder dinner gown talking with her husband. He looked so happy and excited while talking to her. Rachel wished he could be that happy around her. She sat there, admiring her expectations from her husband, when someone whispered beside her. "You look so lonely, damsel. Can I sit with you?" Rachel gasped in shock and immediately declined his approach. He didn't listen and continued talking to get her attention. "I said leave me alone. I am married, please," she said, showing off her ring. The man scoffed. "Showcasing a ring is just a normal thing. I can also flaunt my fake ring and say I'm married. It's not a new thing, young lady. But I'm not joking. Please excuse me," Rachel insisted. Immediately, John saw her having a conversation with another man and hurried over. He gave the man a deadly look, making it clear he was her husband. "I'm sorry, I I didn't mean to, the man stammered. Get out of here, young man, John replied in a high tone. Honey, I told him, Rachel tried to explain. Shush. Just shush your mouth and follow me immediately, John interrupted. Fear gripped Rachel because she knew she had stepped on his nerves. As they walked out, she tried explaining, but he was deaf to her words. They entered the car, and before he drove off, the lady Rachel had seen earlier called out to him, running toward them. He waited until she arrived. Are you going home? She asked amusingly, ignoring Rachel's presence. Something came up. I'll talk to you later, John replied. All right then. Have sweet dreams, the lady said and left. Rachel asked who the lady was, but John refused to answer. She fumed and started calling him a cheater, giving her point of view about what had happened. He replied in annoyance, giving her no excuses for his behavior. The argument heated up until they arrived home. You think you can maltreat me like a slave in our home? I'm fed up with all this. You won't allow me freedom. You've refused me so many things. You've turned my family against me. Why? What have I done? What's my offense? My life, my career was taken from me by marrying you. Still, I accepted it because of my parents' wishes. You stopped me from going to church. You stopped me from praying in the house. You even installed CCTV to monitor me. What is it? I don't even know the cause of my childlessness, and you don't care about it. Rachel shouted. It's because you're barren. Your belly is useless. For more than 3 years, you haven't even missed a period. Isn't that crazy? And yet, you don't stop spreading your legs to have intercourse with me. Aren't you ashamed? John retorted. Ha! Ha! Rachel broke down crying. How dare you say this to me? What about you, who needs deliverance from the spiritual woman having sex with you every night? I've told you countless times it's spiritual, but you refused to. Before she could finish, John slapped her, and she fell hard on the floor. He stomped on her repeatedly until he was satisfied. He was boiling in anger and dashed into the room. Rachel's hand became stiff, unable to move. She cried bitterly, regretting her existence on earth. At midnight, Rachel sat up on the bed, crying beside her sleeping husband. She watched him as he moved his body in a sexual position, as if having intimacy with a woman. I can't sit and watch him go through this. I believe his attitude is because of this. I have to continue my prayers. I believe he'll change when God delivers him from the spiritual wife manipulating him, Rachel thought. She quietly stepped down from the bed and entered the visitor's room. She opened her Bible, meditated, and began praying. She prayed fervently, casting out the spirit tormenting her husband. The atmosphere grew eerie, the curtains blew, the wardrobe opened and closed with force, and unpleasant sounds echoed around. When she finished praying, she returned to her room and slept. In the morning, after John left for work, Rachel prepared and went to the market to buy foodstuffs. On her way back home in a taxi, a strange encounter occurred. Do you know I can end your life within a second? The driver said. Rachel looked over at the driver and almost jumped in shock. She was the only passenger, which made her even more scared. This is strange. Who are you? She asked fearfully. The lady laughed horribly and, in a commanding voice, told Rachel to leave her man alone. Who is your man? Oh, Jesus Christ! Rachel exclaimed. I said leave my man alone. Stop praying for him. He is mine. Only mine. You're just a loser. The atmosphere changed, and the car began to swerve. Rachel's heart pounded in fear as she screamed the name of Jesus. The vehicle somersaulted, and she screamed aloud, waking up to reality. Rachel found herself on the living room three-seater. She stood up, glancing around to reminisce about the dream she had. A strange woman. I knew it. My husband is under a spiritual force. "O God, arise and destroy the spiritual wife disturbing my husband. I bind every covenant he had with the woman. Make him an unquenchable fire. Let her see your fire in him and die," Rachel prayed. She walked around the place, praying fervently. She commanded the host of heaven to descend into her home and destroy every trace of the spiritual wife. As she was praying, her husband returned home, banging the entrance door loudly in annoyance. When he saw his wife praying, he threw a fist at her, and she fell down. "Haven't I warned you? How dare you disobey me?" he shouted. He lambasted her, spitting on her face while she was on the floor. Suddenly, the door flipped open, and a familiar-looking lady entered. She was dressed like a queen of the coast. Rachel instantly recognized her and pointed at her. You came to face us physically. My God is bigger than you," Rachel said while crying. The lady laughed shrilly with every step she took. Rachel's husband looked confused, watching her talk alone. "Now I see that you're going insane, little by little," he said. "Going insane? Can't you see her? This is the lady I've been seeing in my dreams. The same lady who has been tormenting you every night to satisfy herself. See her right here." Rachel exclaimed. "What a psychopath. I think it's high time you see a therapist," John hissed and left her presence. The lady laughed aloud, walking majestically toward Rachel. She bent over and whispered that Rachel should choose between life and death. "If you want to live, stop praying and continue to live in peace with my husband. If you choose death, then go against my command and go down to the grave. Remember, your family isn't on your side. So if you die, it's just a waste," the lady said. "I am not afraid of you. You are the cause of my childlessness. I know my God will answer my prayers, and you shall be destroyed," Rachel replied. "Then let's watch and see who gets destroyed easily," the lady said and disappeared. Rachel started coughing intensely, hitting her chest. The pain was too much for her. She believed only God could help her. She was alone for a long time until she fell asleep on the floor. Many days passed, and Rachel and John were still living like strangers in their house. Rachel's mother and brother visited her, and she explained what was happening. Her mother shunned her and told her to be patient and endure until her husband changed. That day, Rachel became furious and, out of anger, sent her mother away, blaming her for cherishing money over her own daughter's well-being. As expected, in the evening when John returned, he entered frowning. He ignored Rachel's greeting and went straight to the kitchen. Rachel wasn't surprised, although she had good news to share with him. But the way he came in, she doubted he would listen. "I have good news to share with you, honey," she uttered happily. John came out holding a burning mixture of acid and poured it on her body. Rachel screamed, running around the living room. Her whole body was burning, her face was scorched, and her strength was fading. "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" she cried in her mind. John questioned why she had chased her mother out after reporting him. He blamed himself for sparing her life the last time he punched her. He left her alone on the floor, battling for her life. 4 hours later, John came out to check on her and realized she wasn't moving. He called her, but she didn't respond. His heart sank in fear and guilt, and he quickly carried her up. Babe," he called frightfully. He rushed her to the hospital, lying to the doctors that she had accidentally poured acid on herself. He claimed he wasn't around when it happened and had returned from work to find her on the floor. The doctor returned with a saddened expression and announced Rachel's death. "What? She died? How? How, please, doctor? Wake her up for me," John pleaded. "It's not possible, Mr. John. You brought your wife in dead already. And the saddest part is the unborn child," the doctor said. John's eyes widened in shock, and he grabbed the doctor's lab coat. "What did you just say? Which unborn child? Was my wife pregnant?" "Yes, she was. Didn't you know? It's a few weeks pregnancy." Anne.
Ha!
John shouted in disbelief. His eyes started shaking, and his hands trembled in regret. Please calm down, Mr. John, the doctor said.
No! No! No!
John cried out. The next day, Rachel's parents ran into the hospital after being told what had happened. Her mother's cries echoed through the hospital as she grabbed Rachel's body. Rachel's parents couldn't get the true facts of her death. John gave no evidence or traces of what had occurred. His life didn't remain the same after that. The trauma of ending his wife and unborn child's lives haunted him for years. The spiritual wife kept coming every night to satisfy her sexual urges, creating an imagination of intense intimacy. Years later, John attended a church program after backsliding for so long. He was prayed for, and the Holy Spirit held him down. The man of God pointed out his spiritual battle, and fervent prayers were made for him. It was a serious battle between the man of God and the Queen of the Coast. At the end, John was delivered. But within him, John knew he had done wrong. He couldn't continue to live with the guilt and harm he had caused his late wife. He was alone, without a family to build. He stopped going out, regretting and blaming himself for what had happened to Rachel. I hope you enjoyed the story. Who do you think we should blame in this story? Rachel's parents, Rachel, or Rachel's husband, whom the spiritual wife used as a weapon against his wife? Let's talk about this. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.